Joining us now is Shaitan Atigarin with stories trending around the world. Hello, Shaitan. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Doctor. Good morning, Adesuwa.
Good morning. Very bright and beautiful.
Thank you. Good morning, Rufai.
Morning, Shaita. All things bright and beautiful, creatures great and small. All things bright and wonderful, the Lord God made them all.
Wow.
Wow, okay, thank you, Rufai. Now let's kick off what's trending. Magistrate Richard Bassey on Tuesday in Calabar Cross River State collapsed at the gate of the governor's office while participating in a protest by magistrates in the state over unpaid 24-month salaries by the state government. 30 magistrates dressed in their full regalia embarked on the peaceful protest. On Monday, they appealed to Governor Ben Ayade to pay the salaries owed to them. The incident happened on the second day of the protest, and reports say Mr. Bassey was revived when his colleagues had to pour water on him and then take him to a nearby hospital. So that's what's happening in Nigeria. 2021, we are seeing magistrates having peaceful protests to the extent, first of all, the reason why they're even there in the first place is appalling. 24 months of not being paid. I can't comprehend it. And, you know, just to see that magistrate there, you know, it affected his health because he was just trying to fight for a basic right, something that he should not even have to ask for. It
is scandalous. Just going through the story, you know, one of the magistrates said, about a month ago, a colleague of ours was arraigned in the presence of another magistrate because he was owing house rent. That's how scandalous it gets. We can all scream to high heavens how the judiciary has not lived up to expectation, how the judiciary has not been able to clean its house of corruption. But can we truly speak of, you know, strengthening judicial independence, judicial efficiency, judicial integrity when they have to rely on the executive for their salaries, and in this case being owed for 24 months? It's scandalous. It cannot work. It doesn't make any sense. And the government of Cross River, you know, has to tender an apology for this, and they have to explain what exactly has gone on. I do not see why the budget of the judiciary for the year cannot be forwarded to the chief judges of the state upfront in a year.
Well, I don't know whether this morning I'll just be doing government spokesperson work, you know. But first, let me start with one of the policies of the Buhari administration. You recall that the Buhari administration had been insistent on what they call fiscal autonomy for local councils and fiscal autonomy for the judiciary. And that had been very controversial at the point when President Buhari said, look, there must be fiscal autonomy for legislative councils, for the legislature and also the judiciary. In the case of the, I said legislative council, for local council, local government, local councils, you recall that the state governors kicked. Now, that of the judiciary, the whole point of asking for fiscal autonomy for the judiciary is to prevent exactly this kind of situation, so that the judex can be truly independent. If judges are dependent on the executive arm of government for their remuneration, then you find precisely this kind of situation, because the governor can simply just decide not to pay the salaries of judges. And once you do that, you put them in a very difficult situation. The judex is supposed, we always say, to be above board, like Caesar's wife. If they must be above board like Caesar's wife, then you must give them such working, enabling conditions that will make them, you know, really free from encumbrances. When a magistrate cannot pay rent or pay school fees, and he has to preside over a case, and somebody approaches him or her in the chambers,
makes him very open
and
to
offers financial inducement, that puts him in a very difficult situation.
Exactly.
That's one point. Now, second point is that in this particular case in Cross River State, we're told that these, you know, magistrates, they've not been paid because Governor Ayade insists that he was not the one that appointed them, which is something that I find very strange. And I hope that the Cross River State government will clarify that, you know, for the benefit of the general community. And that because he's not the one that appointed them, then they will not be paid. Now, we would like some clarification on that, because, I mean, are they are judges now personal appointees of the governor of the state? If that were to be the case, then that would be most strange indeed. So because we have a Judicial Service Commission, there's an established process for appointing judges. But don't forget that in this same Cross River State, there was an issue over the appointment of the chief judge of the state and the ethnic extraction of the chief judge and all of that. But to put it simply, it's a very embarrassing situation that should be addressed and that, in fact, should be looked into by the State Judicial Commission to see how this embarrassment can be resolved. The sight of magistrates carrying placards all over the place, I mean, it's something that is ridiculous. And by the way, Mr. Bassey did not wake up from just being given water. As you said, Shaitan, they gave him milk.
Milk.
So I don't know whether it was the water or the milk that did the magic. But
was
definitely,
it liquid milk?
Well, but definitely he was exhausted from protesting. And if these magistrates are still working, they, like every worker, deserve their wages.
Definitely, I agree. Rufai, I'd like you to chime in here. Very important points that Doctor made there.
I mean, when Doctor said milk, when he said liquid milk, I thought of condensed milk for some weird reason. but moving on now, it's quite very sad, the kind of country we've built for ourselves. And this is supposed to be an arm of government to dispense justice, and they're going through this. So it's an indication of what is wrong with this country. And you see it every single time. The executive so powerful that everybody's at the mercy of the executive. That's why the National Assembly automatically has to be a rubber stamp. If it's not a rubber stamp, you know how they will have breakbacks with the executive, and that will affect governance in the country. The judiciary, too, has to pander to the executive because the executive calls the shots in everything. And it shows how justice is done in this country to everything. These are supposed to be co-equal arms. And you're seeing magistrate protests. Inducement obviously will be the order of the day. A magistrate can't pay his rent. In the same states where the governor came out in December and said, "Kalas chicken for everybody." Set up a factory to give chicken. In the same states where the governor comes out and says, "Oh, we Kalas Vegas." And these are heavy investment projects. We can invest in other things, but just a co-equal arm of government, we call them. Is this not the reflection in every state where justice is sold in this country? There's a big case of selling of justice. Because in some other states, in the bid for the governor to bring the judiciary to his side, he buys cars for them and all sorts, which is wrong. I mean, what kind of judgment do you want to get when a politician starts to buy cars for them? And for me, this is the long conversation we should even ask when we make the argument for restructuring. Because it's so easy to make that argument, but we forget that the reason why a regional system worked back in the day was the quality and integrity of the leaders, not because the system was fail-proof. So with this kind of governance, if we actually restructure the states and make them truly federal system, won't this governor hold money away from the judiciary because they are not doing to their whims and caprices? So it's a question we should ask ourselves in the long run about how we want to live together as a nation.
You did mention, Doctor, he said something about the fact that the current governor said it was because he was not the one that appointed this magistrate. What do you say to that? Because that's a very interesting point. Yeah.
Even a point to be made forward in the first place. Are they not working in the judiciary arm of the states? Are we not supposed to get to a point where we don't even need to know, as long as they are appointed due to due process? Or does he want appointment of magistrate now to be a political decision in the states?
Well, judicial officers are not answerable to the governor. This is the point I'm trying to make. So the governor of a state cannot say, "I did not appoint you, therefore you will not get your salary." I mentioned the State Judicial Service Commission. It's the State Judicial Service Commission that is responsible at the state level for the appointment of judicial officers. And that body is chaired by the chief judge of the state. And all of that structure is put in place to ensure the independence of the judiciary, even at the state level. So there must be some kind of breakdown. And this is why I say this is a strong case for fiscal autonomy for the judiciary at all levels. Otherwise, you will find a replication of this in other states of the Federation. So does it now mean if the state governor, who says he's the one who appoints judges and is in charge, it means if a magistrate, gives a ruling that the governor does not like,
not favor him,
then the governor can give instruction and say, don't pay that particular magistrate. That is unacceptable because it will lead to the governor of states becoming dictators, usurping the functions and the rights of the judicial arm of government, which is unacceptable under the separation of powers principle that governs the tiers of government in Nigeria. Take a short break now. When we return, what's trending with Sheitan Atigarin will continue. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. Still with us is Sheitan Atigarin on stories trending from around the world.
Okay.
Sheitan, back to you.
Yes, so we're still in Nigeria, where we await the findings of the Lagos State Judicial Panel on restitution for victims of SARS-related abuses and other matters investigating the October 20, 2020 Lekki Toll Gate Incident. The forensic experts have been hired to unearth the truth of what happened at the Lekki Toll Gate on that fateful day. This new development was disclosed at the panel's first sitting of the year by Justice Doris Okuwobi, the chairperson of the panel, while ruling on an application filed by the Lekki Concession Company. The LCC had applied for permission to have access to the toll gate plaza for the purpose of evaluating the damage done for insurance purposes. While ruling against the application, Justice Okuwobi said the forensic experts would have commenced their work earlier, but for the holidays, which made it difficult to gain access to relevant documents and exhibits which had previously been tendered before the panel. Let's take a look.
The forensic analysis will clear a lot of issues from evidences adduced in the course of the investigation on the incident of 20th October 2020. We are indeed not handed on even ground for any party in the course of our assignment. A huge sum has been paid for the forensic examination by the Lagos State government with the desire that the panel unearth the truth. In the circumstance, the order sought to repossess for the repossession of Toll Plaza must await the conclusion of the exercise of the forensic expert of the panel. LCC has waited for over 2 months, and we are bothered by that position, but we are compelled to do justice to all persons in the course of the assignment and will not succumb to any sentiment that the reopening of the toll could spark off any reaction. Mr. Ogunlano's submission that status quo be maintained pending the assignment of the panel will not be supporting the cause of justice. The Lekki investigation, as it affects the LCC, is thereby adjourned to 29 January 2021 for a further consideration of the application of Learned Counsel, Mr. Siri.
I mean, we did have to hold our breath for a bit for that one yesterday, because when the application was brought forward, there was a deliberation. Both sides put out their arguments as to why they needed access to the Lekki toll gate, and they went in their chambers, and then when she came back, she gave that judgment. And it's very interesting to see that I mean, it would have been nice if they hired the forensic team right at the beginning of the 6 months that they have to give their recommendations to the Lagos State government, but to at least know that something is being done, and it's an independent forensic team that's supposed to find out exactly what happened. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what they come with and hearing what evidence is put forward in proving who exactly ordered the shootings on the night of October 20th, 2020.
Well, you are Arise NSAS protesters reporter. Job well done you've been doing, following, the sitting every time. I think this is reassuring to those who say nothing will come out of this panel, to hear that the Lagos State government has invested a lot of money to get independent forensic auditors to find out what happened. This is not the camcorder ultimate search. This is the real search. And so that's assuring. And like she said, one can understand why LCC would want to go back to evaluate damages because they did have workers. I don't know what has happened to the workers of LCC in the space of this time that they've been, they've not had work. Have they been paid? So there's that concern there. But like Justice Okuwobi also said, we have to, find out the truth. Justice must be served. We have to know the truth. So unfortunately, LCC would have to wait until we get to the bottom of all of this.
There's something that she says, you cannot sacrifice justice on the altar of speed.
Yes.
What do you think, Doctor?
Well, one, our expectation and what we've always demanded is that justice must be done. Because involved in all of this is human lives, is the integrity of the state. It's also about public expectations and perception. And when this judicial panel of inquiry was set up across the country, the people's expectation is that those who have been brutalized, victimized as a result of the NSAS protests or earlier omissions by the police will get justice. Now, with regard to the NSAS protests, well, I guess this forensic team that is now being appointed, the question to be raised is, what is the status of whatever evidence that is available for these forensic experts to investigate?
After this file.
Now, what is the quality, the integrity of the evidence? Is it possible that parts of the necessary evidence would have been tampered with? Because I recall that in some of the previous interviews we had on the issue, we kept talking about how to preserve the integrity of available evidence. We do not have information on that, and the chairperson of that panel of inquiry did not go into details in that regard. I guess that one of the things that the forensic team will have to do will be a visit to what is called locus in quo. Locus in quo refers to the place where the cause of action arose. Now, the place where the cause of action arose in this particular case will be, including others, the Lekki Toll Gate. Now, since the original incident on October 20, 2020, that place has been cleaned up, right? So there's no possibility now, many months later, that forensic team will be able to find any remaining evidence apart from the camcorder that Agent Fash discovered. Okay, so there may be nothing left. The locus in quo may have been tampered with or has been tampered with. There's been traffic, there's been activities, there's been rainfall and all that. So which goes to the point about whether this is something that should have been done much earlier in the day. And all of these details will affect public perception of whatever that forensic team comes up with. But in any case, whatever it is, whatever the forensic team comes up with should be made public. The public should be informed. There should be transparency. And above all, the justice that the chairperson of the panel of inquiry has promised is what the average Nigerian is interested in, so that we can have proper closure over what transpired in October 2020.
Definitely. Part of her statement there, her ruling there, was that the forensic team would be able to take the witness stand in about 21 days. It's 3 weeks from now. Rufai, what do you find about this?
Is it that the forensic team has been working that we didn't know about, or they just employed the forensic? Because if they just employed the forensic team, it's laughable. Once you have a crime scene anywhere in the world, the first thing you see is a cordon off of the crime scene. That Lekki Toll Gate was not cordoned off. The place was in possession of the police and the military. Day 2 on the 21st of October, where we had mayhem in the whole of Lagos. The place was partly in the house of area boys that were going there to pull out the various burglary barricades. So what is the forensic team forensicing, if I can use that, pardon my French? Because I'm shocked. And that's why when you look at things critical in society, you want to earn the trust of people, but you need to earn it. You need to earn it. The same road that has been opened, people have been passing there freely. What is the forensic team? If we had a forensic team, I would have thought that the forensic team would have brought the cameras to the ground where they had the, panel of inquiry. I would have thought that the forensic team would have been able to give us more data, back-end data. We didn't see all of that for the forensic team. So we are saying we have a forensic team now, 3 months after an incident, and want to get a forensic report for a site that has been cleaned up, that the Saturday after, correct me if I'm wrong, the Lagos State government, let's do general environmental sanitation in the state and clean back our state. And people were cleaning the Lekki Toll Gate. Citizens went out there to clean before they said, no, volunteers should not clean again. So what is the forensic examination? Because, I mean, I don't get it. But most importantly, people lost their life. And the greatest service we can do is to respect the lives that were lost and allow justice to prevail in this. And also in the interest of that sensitivity, the LCC, I know there are business considerations, but please, business consideration cannot outweigh life. If people didn't lose their life at the toll gate, anyway, that's disputed because some people say, where are the dead bodies? Yes, the story is out there. But, and we've also heard counter stories say people lose their lives, they lost limbs. If an incident didn't happen, LCCI knows that nobody would have stopped them from doing their business. They will have still be collecting their tolls there. But because an incident happened, to be on the safe side now, because there's a lot of gaslighting back and forth, because an incident happened in Lekki, that's why we're having this panel of inquiry. But I will want to see what the forensic team puts out. Well, I'm curious.
Yes, we're all looking forward to seeing what the forensic team puts out. Let's move on to our next story now, which is an update from a previous one. Embattled Managing Director of the First City Monument Bank, FCMB, Adam Nuru, has embarked on a voluntary leave amid allegations of marital infidelity involving him and a former staff of the bank, Moyo Lawal. According to the petition that has been signed by over 2,000 people, Moyo's estranged husband, today Thomas, aged 45, died on December 16, 2020 from a heart attack after battling with depression upon discovering that the 2 children from their marriage were allegedly fathered by the FCMB boss. On January the 4th, the bank released a statement saying its board of directors had commenced an investigation into the matter. Madam Nuru has since announced his plans to embark on leave immediately to allow the board to carry out an independent review of the circumstances surrounding the reports. Now, when news of this hit the internet yesterday, I think what stood out for me personally was his choice of words. The fact that they said he was going on a voluntary leave, the fact that he said it was negative media reports as opposed to false media reports. No, just those little words that make you feel like, how serious is this going to be taken? But I mean, like we've said, they are going to be investigating, and I can't wait to also see what comes out of this investigation, because it's a really, really heartbreaking story. A life was lost in this matter.
You say, Shaito, measuring and shaping public perception is very important for any serious organization. The stress is serious organization. And on Monday, this happened over the weekend, last week over the weekend, and then into this week. On Monday, when the stock market opened, there was a dip in FCMB shares. We may not know what exactly was responsible, but some would say it may not be unconnected with this whole scandal, So I think that what the bank is doing is good for them, because they need to build public perception, shape public perception that they are a serious financial institution that, understands corporate governance, and they take their code of ethics seriously. As for the gentleman, yes, his choice of words were very interesting for me as well. He did not deny. I mean, he's just saying they are negative. So it's interesting. I'll keep my fingers crossed to see. But one thing I also know, Shaita, is that no one is indispensable. So my fingers are crossed, and I'm watching this.
Okay.
Well, let's take another quick break. When we return, what's trending with Shaito Antigari? We'll continue. Welcome back to the morning show here on the Arise News channel. We're still on stories trending from around the world with Shaitan Atigari.
Yes, Doctor. Before the break, we were talking about this whole FCMB saga, and I'm curious to know what you think about this recent development in this case.
Well, I share the view that the bank has a responsibility to protect its brand. And here we're dealing with the chief executive of the bank being accused of this kind of unethical conduct. And that, of course, definitely will have direct implications for the brand of the bank itself. As I said previously, when we discussed this same topic, I made a point that people were already saying, yes, you can put your money in FCMB, but be careful. Don't let your wife go there. And there were persons who had petitioned, over 1,900 persons who had petitioned the bank and also petitioned the Central Bank of Nigeria to ensure that Mr. Madam Nuru, the managing director of the bank, should be sanctioned for moving beyond managing customers' deposits to cockadry within the corridors of the bank. And the implication, the suggestion you will get from some of those comments is that that Mr. Nuru, the managing director, seems to be more interested in women than the core assignment that he has been given. But it is good that he says that he has been asked to step aside to allow for proper investigation. And the bank says this will also give them an opportunity to review their code of ethics and how their code of ethics can be strengthened. So I think it's a good move by the bank. But Mr. Nuru says he's going on vacation in the statement that he issued. I hope that that vacation will not include going to visit the controversial Mrs. Moyo Thomas. I would like to advise him to stay away from her, no matter how innocent he may be during this time when he's being investigated. Because indeed, this is just very honest advice. He should be sure that people will be monitoring him. Even if he sends her a text message or a WhatsApp message, it will complicate the scandal if it comes into the public domain that his vacation is now being used to further promote the criminal polyamory that has created the situation that we're trying to deal with. The third leg of it is that the family of Mrs. Moyo Thomas, they have issued a statement in support of their daughter to say that the two young children involved in this matter belong to the late Mr. Tunde Thomas. And I found that curious. Why should it be our family speaking up on our behalf? She is the main culprit that is being targeted. It is, a body that has been called into question and the deployment of it in the marital situation. I think, and she's alive. We have not heard that she's dead or that she's afflicted, deaf or dumb. She herself should be able to speak up. This controversy has been going on for more than a week, and she's an educated woman. She has a right, if she's not, complicit in any manner, she has a right to stand up and speak up and say, look, at no point did I tell my husband that these children do not belong to him. But she has been so silent in the matter. So why is she keeping quiet? Why is she so silent? Why is she not standing up for her own integrity? Because the average Nigerian mentality is that silence means consent. So our friends should advise her, to speak up. And she herself, by the same measure, should stay away from Mr. Adam Nuru. Whatever may be the temptation to gang up together to see how the matter can be resolved.
Rufai, speak up, Dr. Bassey says. Do you think she should have released a statement by now?
Temptation. Yeah, statement. What should I say? You want to hear from all the sides. At first, you would like to hear from the side of the woman in the middle of all of this, even if it's a statement. And I think she should get a publicist, even if she can't speak by herself. She should get a PR agent that will help her speak, because anything she says will be quoted. So she should get a PR agent, tell her own side of the story. And in telling her own side of the story, honesty should be the watchword while the investigation goes on. And while the bank, too, investigates this, I'm sure the bank, too, will have to call Madam Thomas to come tell her own side of the story in this relationship with all the evidence they have to be able to have a robust investigation. He said due to negative comments in the papers. Negative comments in the papers. Yes, negative comments. How? As in the paper, because everybody's so quick to blame the media for everything. Hasn't the media been reporting what was out there to a large extent? Who has said, oh, this is how FCMB does? Nobody has said that in this coverage. So I don't like that word when I hear negative comments. Nobody casted an aspersion on your bank. Nobody has talked about the fact that it's a culture in your bank. We've just all said that. And the reason why you think it's that is because your name was called. We've just all said that this certain person, this XYZ thing, and is unethical based on the banking provisions. And we'd like to even see FCMB's code of ethics. You know, when we see the code of ethics, it might not be an infraction there. You know, like some companies frown against two people getting married while they work together as a member of staff. Some companies don't frown against it. So we'd like to even see what is FCMB's code of ethics in all of these conversations, to be able to have a more rounded conversation. Yeah, we might say industry standard is unethical to do that, but the truth has to be said. Is it in their code of ethics? That's another question I'd like to ask. Thirdly, we've seen the power play. And for me, what I'm particular about is the power play. The fact that if after investigation this is proven to be true, I put that caveat there, the fact that somebody that is superior is having an affair with somebody that is less than them in the office space.
It's subordinate.
It's subordinate. That's the part I am against. So for that to happen, there's a power play. Because in relationship, there needs to be a power balance. And it has to be said, that power balance. I'm not saying somebody that is superior cannot have a relationship with somebody that is less. Bill Gates' wife used to work in Microsoft before. Melinda Gates, she was a member of staff of Bill Gates, but automatically, once they got married, they became at par on the balance. This also happened to former World Bank President, Paul Wolfowitz, that was said to have even had a relationship even before he was made World Bank President. He had to leave the job. That was also the same case with the like of Dominic Strauss-Kahn, the former IMF president. The fact is the power play. That's what makes it ethical, because it's not a balanced relationship. And it's always skewed.
It's not even about the power play per se. It's because the party here, one of the parties here, I don't know about Mr. Nuru, is a married woman.
Is a married
man. So it's not just the power play between the boss and the subordinate.
So the power play and the fact that Mr. Nuru is married, he has a relationship, and the woman too is married, she has a relationship, and the fact that it is said that the man lost his life as a result of all of this.
Okay,
anyway, some people have disputed that. Yeah. So for me, the most important thing is we need to be able to bring about equilibrium and a balance in society if society wants to move steadily.
I just wanted to speak quickly to, you know, they say silence is complicity, but Dr. Bassey was saying that she should speak up. Given the time that has passed, what difference will it make if she speaks? Because she might also think that people have passed judgment, and whatever she says at this point may be used against her anyways.
That's why she should get a publicist.
In law, you are told that you have the right to be silent because whatever you say can be used against you in the court of law. But in this particular...
of public opinion, it also works.
Well, the thing is that here, you know, we're dealing with personal integrity. We're dealing with image. We're also dealing, in a sense, with culture. I was telling somebody the other day that, look, in Africa, if a man dies under ordinary circumstances, the first target is the wife.
Yes.
The assumption will be that, oh, this wife must have acquired witchcraft. Second, that maybe she has a boyfriend somewhere who is already so much in love with her and is responsible for the husband's death. All kinds of superstitions. And that's why in some parts of Africa, you have these obnoxious widowhood rights.
Yes.
So that the woman, even under normal circumstances, is required to come and prove her innocence. Now, in this particular case, is the very foundation of this lady's marriage to Mr. Thomas, the late Mr. Thomas, that is being questioned. It is important enough for her friends, for her family, if she's innocent, to put it on record that she's innocent. Keeping quiet, in my view, does not help her. Saying that no matter what she says, the public will not believe, will not help her. There will be enough people who will say, look, this woman is saying the truth, she's innocent. So keeping quiet and playing deaf and dumb with all the kinds of names she has been called, no, she needs to speak up. That's my opinion.
All right, then, let's go to our final story. 71-year-old Hajiya Duduwa Ibrahim, who was kidnapped on the 23rd of December, has regained freedom after she was set free from captivity by bandits. Duduwa was kidnapped in Guwamatawa, Batagarawa local government area of Katsina State after her 89-year-old husband, Ibrahim Mai Bale, who was a community leader, and her 46-year-old son, Dardao, were killed before they took her away. She spent more than 15 days in captivity. When the story was sent in, it just, caught my attention. It's a 71-year-old woman, but it's really good to see that at least she's able to come back home to her family. We've had so many cases still pending. We have Leah Sharibu still praying for her to come home. So the circumstances behind it, how they got her back, that nitty-gritty, we don't know 100% because our Arise News correspondent is still going to meet with the family later today. But she's back home and she's safe with her family. Happy ending.
But, it just speaks to the senseless and mindless insecurity situation that we have across the country, but particularly in the northern part of the country. And we keep saying it, we have to do more. What we are doing is not enough. It is simply not enough. It's not acceptable.
Yeah, it brings home afresh again the crisis of insecurity that we have in the country. I look at the elderly woman, look at
lost her husband and her son.
Her husband was murdered, her son was murdered. She herself has gone through a lot of trauma, and you never know what could happen to her thereafter. Even the grief alone about the loss that she had suffered and the humiliation. This puts a clear human face to the crisis of kidnapping.
Yes.
Previously, we have had to deal with the issue of young persons, Chibok girls, Dapchi girls, Kankara boys. And now even the elderly are not safe. Senior citizens in other parts of the country are well taken care of. But here, we kidnap our own and we burn the library that they represent. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Shaitan.
Thank you for having me.
See you again tomorrow morning.